Welcome everyone to day 4 of our Business Growth Action Plan Challenge. I hope that you've been finding the other days helpful and informative. I am Michelle O'Connor, and if you are new to my channel, I'm a business growth strategist and I help entrepreneurs develop growth plans that sees them achieving their profits without stress and burnout. And I created this 30-day challenge because I know one of the things that I get based on the level that you're at in your business, maybe you don't have enough time. And I wanted you to see how you can take various pieces, and you'll have these videos forever that you can use. Take the various pieces to create a plan. And we've been talking this week about reviewing of past performance, and we're continuing that conversation today. Now, this one, I want you to remove all distractions, get something to write with if you're typing on your computer, but you're going to want to see the screen as well, because today we're talking about SWOT. I want you to know as much as possible the tools that you are able to use when you are assessing your current environment. And that's what we're doing this week. We started out by looking at ensuring that we kind of cement back our vision. We then looked at our past performance. How do we interpret the performance for this year? And the year that we're doing this is in 2025. And then now we're looking at other tools that you can assess your current performance. One of the things that I know to be true based on my experience is that we often want to go and find something new to do. Let's create this new initiative. Let's sell this new product. Let's fix something that somebody said you need to fix in your business. But when you assess your current performance, there is a lot of information that you can achieve from doing that can help you to build as you go forward. So sometimes the new ideas aren't needed. So today we're going to be talking about SWOT. And just to say, I am going not from how do you create a SWOT. I'm talking about after you have that information, how do you use the information that you've gathered in your SWOT to make business growth decisions? That is what we're talking about today, because a lot of persons have done SWOT. We use the word SWOT analysis, but if you've never analyzed it to use it as a decision-making tool, then all you have is information. And that's not what we're about. We're about using all the information that we currently have to make business growth decisions. So if it is that you're new, maybe you've never done a SWOT before, we're going to do like a 1-minute refresher, like a 1-minute refresher that you can just think of. This is our SWOT. This is what it does. Just 1 minute, because we want to get into the other areas. So as I shared with you, we're going to be talking about how to use the SWOT to impact your growth. Let me know where you're joining from. I mean, put it in the chat and let me know if you have any questions. And as we go through as well, I'll pause every now and then just to ask questions. So we're using the SWOT to impact our growth. How do we use the SWOT to make growth decisions? Now, another thing I want you to remember, as I shared this just now, our goal is not really to explain the SWOT. I'm coming from the premise that you've already done it. And if you haven't, I'm fine doing a video on it or including it in our 30-day session. We can work together to build a SWOT and give you some of the questions that you need to be including. But today what we're doing is showing you how you can use that SWOT to make decisions that support your 2026 growth plan. Now, one of the things that I have noticed is that when we complete a SWOT, I want you to remember that the information that you gather is information that's helping you to improve the things that you're already good at. So let's take, for example, your strengths. If you're strong at something, the aim is that you're going to find a way, when you look at that information, how do we continue being strong at this thing? If you're weak, how can we improve? If there are opportunities, how can we take advantage of those opportunities? If there are threats, how do we manage or mitigate? Those are some of the questions that you're going to be asking yourself. But as I said, we're going to be having a very quick run through. Now, if you've never seen this before, the SWOT has 4 quadrants: your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are internal to your business. So these are things that you have control over. This has to do with your people. This has to do with your process, the experience that you offer to your customers, training that you make available, the apparatus or the systems or the equipment that your team work with. All of those things, your culture, your values, all of those things are internal. So they either fall under strengths or weaknesses. Opportunities and threats are external to your business. You do not have control over these things. So this is whether your competitors, these are changes in the market, regulatory changes, you name it, natural disasters, etc. These are things that you don't have control over. So that's how you look at it if you've never seen it before. And I just said it, your strengths, what we do well, internal capabilities, weaknesses, your internal limitations, again, opportunities, external, threats, external. So this is, in essence, what your SWOT would look like. You'll be gathering information on this. Now, as we go through, I want you to let me know. Hi, Carson. Have you ever completed a SWOT for your business? Let me know in the chat. Have you ever done one? Because that would also kind of give me an idea. Because I really want to go slow to make sure that you're getting how you're going to be using this information now to make decisions in the future. And while you send your comments in, I want to also say, if you've never done one before, or you're using AI to help you, I want to give you just a 30-second guidance. The questions that you ask are also very important. Because I know a lot of persons are using AI, want to give this input. Don't just go to chat and say, hey, I work in this industry. I have X number of people. I'm looking to create a SWOT. How do I do it? What questions do I need to ask? No. You want to be very specific. As I shared earlier, you want to be asking questions about your people. You want to ask questions about your process. You want to ask questions about your service, your internal capabilities. Ensure that that is all there. Along with that, in my experience, this is not just a one-day activity. We have had to have 2-3 days retreat just analyzing the SWOT. We use the word SWOT analysis, but it's not an analysis if you haven't sat down and asked yourself the questions, how does this information impact our business, our service delivery, and our growth projections? So it's if you've just collected the data, it's sitting there, it's good that you have it, but now we're going to be talking about how do we use this to move forward. And if you're just joining, I share with you that if we're going through and you're like, you know what, Michelle, we've done the SWOT before and we have never done anything with the information, I want to invite you to book a call with us and let's talk about how we can help you. Because I tell you, I say this almost every day on our live, you don't need to go far. A lot of the information that you need is right in your business. So let us jump into today. I will continue looking in the chat to see if we have any questions. And again, if you've done this before, never done it before, let me know. All right. So I just did a very quick refresher. So you have gathered your information in your SWOT. And one of the things that came up for you is your strong customer experience. Clients consistently give you 5-star reviews. We celebrate it. We're very excited about it. But the question that you want to ask yourself is, how do you stay strong? When businesses don't look or analyze this information, what can tend to happen is you lose the things that you're strong at and you don't know why, right? And we don't want that to happen for us. So you're going to be asking yourself these questions. What are we doing that makes this a strength? It's not a surprise, because sometimes it's not a trick question, because sometimes you may not even realize that there's something that you are strong at. So you want to ask yourself that question. The other question that you want to ask yourself is, what systems or habits protect this? If there's something that you are strong at, is it, you talk about customer experience. Could it be your culture that's causing you to be strong, and how do you protect it? How do you now ensure that this is continuous? What needs to stay consistent? Ask yourself that question, because the things that you are strong at, you want to ensure that you remain strong at those things. You don't want to lose it. So you want to ask yourself that question. Am I making sense? I'm checking the chat. This is live for you to ask questions. I'm not understanding, Tim. I don't know. Does that mean something? I don't know. Understand the numbers that you're dropping, but just let me know if you have any questions, if this is making sense for you as we go through. I'm just scrolling and checking the chat. All right. Tim, when you have some time, you can explain what that number mean. All right, so let's continue. Again, you don't want to lose the things that you are strong at, so you want to ask yourself those questions. Then you want to ask, if customer experience is a strength, we now maintain it by, what are we going to do to maintain this strength? We're going to be documenting the delivery process to ensure succession planning. If this person leaves, at least we know why we were doing it. I remember while I was in corporate, I led an initiative called Back to Basics, and it was really us going back to our core. We normally have very high customer engagement scores, those scores that dipped south for a while, and we wanted to bring it back north. What we did was, let's go back to what we were good at. Why, when we were getting those high scores, what were our customers saying? So you want to know, train new team members using the best practices. This is how you ensure that your habits and your culture and your norms and the things that you're good at spreads throughout your organization. Automating follow-ups to ensure consistency. Monitoring satisfaction scores monthly. Identifying the gaps. You don't want to ignore comments or feedback that you get from clients. Sometimes we do that, and that may be because we're not sure, or it's just one person, but you want to monitor it. When you're monitoring, you're able to see whether or not there is any consistency throughout the feedback. All right. Checking the chats. Any questions on that? Okay. The next thing you want to look at, how do you, and we're using our strength for this example, but you can use all of them. I just want to show you how you really analyze your SWOT once you have the information. How can our strength improve our weaknesses? So here's an example of a weakness. We have slow onboarding process. It takes over 14 days. Maybe that wasn't the target. I know when we did an example Tuesday on day 2, one of the things we had was that our onboarding process needed to be 10. So I want to kind of follow through. It's now 14. What can we do? We're thinking about the things that we're good at. Which strength can help fix this weakness? How can our strong customer influence or our strong customer experience influence onboarding? That is something that you can ask yourself. What is it that we're good at? I was on a podcast day before this week. I don't remember the day, but I was on a podcast this week, and I was sharing with the host about the various different kind of leadership or personality profile assessments that exist. And we're talking about Gallup. And one of the things that I love about Gallup is that it's a strength finder, and it's telling you what you are good at. So unlike some of the others that says, oh, you're weak in these areas, let's fix the weaknesses, their strength finder is saying, this is what you're strong at. This is where you need to focus your energy. It's almost the same thing. This is what you're already naturally good at. How do we continue using this thing that you're naturally good at to continue to serve and to continue to grow your business? That is what I want you as CEOs and founders to remember. You are using what you already have in your arsenal. You're not going out there to find anything. This is what causes overwhelm. This is what causes burnout. We're not thinking about what we don't have. We're thinking about what we already have. And that is what you're knowing what your strengths are. That is what it does for you. So let us continue. So you want to ask yourself, is there anything that it can, or customer experience or strength in customer experience can do for weaknesses? So an example, You want to map out your onboarding experience and match that the same high client touch point. So what does this mean? When you think about onboarding your clients, what does that onboarding process looks like? And identify on that onboarding process, what are the client touch points? Because remember, if client experience is high, when you reach a touch point where your client is engaging with your team, how can we heighten that? Is there anything that we can plug in that? Because maybe that can help us to reduce our client onboarding time. Making sense? Use your client feedback strengths to redesign the onboarding process. A lot of persons do surveys. A lot of companies and organizations do surveys. Surveys, it's not about gathering information and numbers. It's about gathering information to make decision. And that has been our theme throughout this week. How are we using information that we have to make decisions? We're not assuming, we're not going based off feelings. We're being objective because we're running a business, right? So use your client feedback strength to redesign your onboarding process if needed. Remember, these are just examples. Assign your strongest team member in client experience to improve the onboarding flow. The persons who are on the ground, they're on the floor, they're touching your clients, they are the ones who have all the gold. So I know a lot of times what can happen is in the organization, there are levels. So your management is locked in meetings. They are having all of these conversations, high level conversation, while the person on the ground is saying, hey, all we need is a rope. All we need is this, but we are thinking way too big. Get in touch with the people who are on the ground. If you watch sometimes these reality shows, they show the CEOs who dress undercover and go on the ground to see what is happening. You don't have to dress undercover, just do it. Or connect with the person who is already there doing it. So is that making sense, guys? Any questions? All right, let's continue. We're going on to opportunities. And remember, opportunities is external. We have no control over these things. These things pop up in our environment, but it's an opportunity for us to take advantage of. So an opportunity example is market demand is increasing for personalized service and faster response times. You cringe when you hear that because you're like, faster response time. We already have a problem with our onboarding timeline. So, we're not going to look at that. However, what you want to remember is that you have a client experience differentiator that you are good at. So this is the opportunity. Market demand is increasing for personalized service and quicker response time. Ask yourself, which strengths align with this opportunity? How can we use the strength to serve an unmet need? I tell you, I know companies that, you wonder why people go to them. They have identified the one thing that they're good at, and that they just work that. And people are drawn to them. Not that they don't have weaknesses, not that they don't have things that's not working for them, but they've identified, how do we maximize, how do we magnify, how do we make our strength the thing that causes people to come to us, and that kind of mitigates or hides, some of our weaknesses. So you have an opportunity that's out there. Which one of our strengths can help us to maximize this opportunity? And you're using your customer experience to capitalize on the growing demand. Because you're good at customer experience, you're saying, okay, let's launch a premium concierge style service because we're good at customer service. So if we are now saying to people, we treat everybody like VIP, you are now going to be VVIP. What does that look like? Market your high touch client care as a differentiator. This is now going in your messaging. You're highlighting the fact that we care about our clients and this is what we do best. Raising prices because the market is willing to pay for quality, targeting clients who are frustrated with impersonal competition or competitors. What do you think about that so far? Where I'm going slowly and ensuring that, persons are understanding if there are any questions. So one of the questions that persons often ask is, how do I know what questions to ask? You can copy these questions. You don't have to create your own. You can copy these questions if you want, but you want to be questioning. You want to ask, what can we do better? What can we do with this information? And you will have way more information than I have right here. I'm just using one example. When you administer your SWOT, you have a series of questions. Depending on the size of your organization, you can have over 100 responses based on the questions you're asking, and you can use this. And with AI, I may do a video. I think I'm going to do a video about how to use AI to help you to analyze your SWOT data, but maybe first how to create it. Because I think one of the challenges that we're having is that we're asking the wrong questions. All right, so let's go to the next example. We've looked at how you're using your strength to take advantage of opportunities. Now, let's go to how you can use your strength to manage or mitigate your threats, right? Now, there are different, I know that we have probably been focusing on strength, but I want to let you know that one of the things that you can also do, there are different ways that you can look at the 4 quadrants. That would take like maybe a good 3-hour workshop. If you're interested in that, you can let me know. But I just thought to pull one example out so you can see how we use that one example in creating a growth plan. Because if you don't know what you have, you can't grow, right? And I don't want you growing from exhaustion and doing new things all the time. I want you growing using information that you're already armed with. And if you've never administered a SWOT, you don't have to go and do one now, because this is something that you do throughout the year. You're constantly looking back at this. I just want you to know what is available to you in your planning, in your strategic planning and execution process, so you know how to go about this going forward. So we're talking about using your strength to manage or mitigate threats. A threat example: competitors are offering lower prices or faster turnaround time. Ooh, turnaround time is a major issue for us. Oh my God, we're going to lose clients for this. Everybody is freaking out. Let's fix it. What are the questions that you're going to be asking yourself? How can our strengths help to protect us? Can it? From the long list of strengths that we got from our team when we did the survey, is there anything there that we can pull out, use, and protect us? You don't have to go and look for the information outside. A lot of times it's inside your business. What can competitors not replicate easily? And a lot of times, remember, when we talk about strengths and weaknesses, those are things internal. Your strength sometimes it's hard for competitors to replicate. Client experience is not something that just happens out of the sky. It's embedded in your culture. So look at what strengths you currently have. Now, we've been talking about customer experience, and I'm using that example throughout this presentation. What you want to do is highlight your high satisfaction scores in marketing. We spoke about messaging just now. We talk about opportunity. Offering loyalty incentives to keep your clients. Reinforcing your brand promise around quality. Bundling services to add more value than your competitors. You can think about these. And again, these are just examples. All right. Am I making sense? Now, before we close, there's one that I wanted to talk, another way I wanted to show you how you can use it. Now, we've been talking about strengths. We've been using strengths as we are going through the discussion. I want to leave you with one example, how your weakness and your threat can help you to design a mitigation strategy. And what do I mean by that? Weakness, you have a slow onboarding process. Clients are complaining about the long wait time. They continue to complain and we've not been able to fix it. A threat, a competitor just launched a 48-hour onboarding guarantee and you're like, we are trying to get to 10 days. We're over 14. We cannot compete with 48. The risk is your slow onboarding amplifies the competitor's advantage. You could lose leads quickly. Now, what this does is you're now able to ask yourself the question, does this weakness make the threat more dangerous? Is this going to be something that we can fix by Q1? Which part of our weakness can we improve quickly? Because if we can't make 10 days, we're over 14 days and our competitor is doing 48 hours, is it possible? How can we reduce this risk within a certain number of time. I have 30 days here, but you can insert a date that work. What process or system must we build to prevent this exposure? This is something that, not all the analysis that you get from your SWOT. Let me stop sharing as I say this. Not all the analysis that you get from your SWOT is going to be information that you're going to be able to implement and do something with right away. Some of the information is for future development. Some of the information is building a system or analyzing your environment. There's so much that you can get from it. So that is how I want you to think about it. You're developing a plan. You may not be able, but let's be real. It's highly unlikely that you are having a 14-day onboarding process and your client is promising, your competitor is promising 48 hours. It's not going to work. Like, it's not something you fix overnight. But when you ask yourself the question, how dangerous is this? Is this a high risk thing? Is it something we need to address right now? If not, you move on. You know what? Let our competitor continue. We know that our high customer experience score is going to cause us to still generate great results. So we're not really worried. So that is just, I wanted to leave you with that. And I hope that that information and that way of looking at it makes sense. So as we close, when you write down your strength, you're thinking of what, Michelle, what do we do next? This has been really good information. What do we do next? Write down one strength. No, answer these 4 questions. How do we keep this strong? How can this strength fix one weakness? How can this strength help us to seize an opportunity? And how can this strength protect us from a threat? Ask yourself that question. And that is the end of day 4. I hope you found this information useful. I wanted to go as slow as possible. We tried to go 15 to 20 minutes. We've gone 30 minutes, but I wanted to make this information very useful for you as you go forward. If you've not done your SWOT, you may not want to go into all of this. If it is that you've done it before, you can analyze your information with your team this way. This is going to help you to fix what you already have. So you're not going outdoors and trying to find something new and different to do. So thank you so much, guys, for joining. I don't know. I had fun sharing all of that information with you because from my experience, a lot of persons just gather the information about the SWOT and they don't use it wisely. And I want you to do that. All right. So join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. for day 5. We're going to continue our review process this week. And next week is going to be where I know everybody wants to go. We want to start talk about next year. But I want you to be armed with the information from this week. It's going to carry forward into next week. So thank you again for joining and have a wonderful day. And remember, subscribe if you have not, so you're notified when we go live and when we post for additional content.